Spiritual awakening is not what most believe it to be. It's not a moment of divine fireworks, an ecstatic revelation, or an instant ascension into eternal bliss. Many think they've awakened simply because they've gained knowledge, adopted spiritual terminology, or cultivated a sense of detachment from the mundane. But what if those beliefs are just another layer of illusion? Another construct of the mind, trapping you in a different, more deceptive dream? People mistake awakening for intellectual understanding. They read, reflect, and repeat profound-sounding words, but their internal world remains the same. The mind, a masterful trickster, creates a new identity, the awakened one. It clings to this concept, wearing it like a badge, reinforcing the very ego it was supposed to dissolve. This is why so many remain asleep while believing they are awake. It's not knowledge that frees you. It's a shift in perception so radical that it shatters the foundation of who you think you are. True awakening doesn't inflate the sense of self. It dismantles it. It doesn't give more answers. It strips away false ones. Awakening is not about acquiring more, but realizing that what you sought was never missing. The very seeking itself dissolves, leaving behind an unsettling yet liberating stillness. And it is in that stillness, beneath the noise of thoughts, where something profoundly different emerges. For most, thoughts dictate reality. An endless stream of internal chatter overlays every moment, filling the mind with judgment, interpretations, and stories. Without realizing it, people become prisoners of this constant mental noise, mistaking it for reality. But here's the question: do you think, or are you being thought? If you sit in silence and simply observe, something peculiar happens. Thoughts appear on their own, uninvited, flowing like a river with no clear origin. If you are the thinker, shouldn't you be able to stop thinking at will? The moment this realization sinks in, a crack forms in the illusion. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that perceives them. That awareness has always been there, unnoticed, like the sky hidden behind clouds. Most people live entirely within the storm of their minds, oblivious to the vast stillness that has always been behind it. Awakening is the moment you recognize the sky, instead of identifying with the passing clouds. A glimpse of this can happen in the most ordinary moments, watching a sunset, standing in absolute stillness, or even in a brief pause between thoughts. In those rare moments when the mental noise fades, what remains is something indescribable, not an emotion, not a thought, just pure presence. Within that presence, a truth reveals itself. Life has always been happening in the now, yet the mind was too preoccupied with past and future to notice. Awakening is not gentle. It is not a peaceful ascent into enlightenment. It is the death of who you believed yourself to be. The mind, which has carefully constructed an identity over the years, begins to realize it is nothing more than a collection of thoughts, memories, and conditioning. And when this illusion is seen through, fear arises. Who are you without the identity you've carried for so long? The ego resists, clings, and fights to maintain control. It will tell you that you are losing yourself when, in truth, you are finally seeing yourself for the first time. Imagine spending your entire life staring at your reflection in a mirror, believing it to be you, only to one day step away and realize you are never the reflection at all. The collapse of that false image feels like death, because in a way, it is. But what remains after that death is something timeless, something that was never born and can never die. This process is disorienting, yet profoundly liberating. The mind searches for something to cling to, another identity to replace the old one. But none of its illusions hold weight anymore. Instead of grasping at new labels or concepts, an openness emerges, an ability to exist without the need for a fixed definition. The discomfort of this dissolution eventually gives way to clarity as the realization dawns. Nothing was ever lost, only illusions stripped away. Once the illusion of identity begins to dissolve, a new way of existing emerges. The constant mental narrative no longer dominates perception. Instead, moments of stillness become more frequent, and within that stillness, a presence is revealed. The mind is still there, but it no longer defines existence. Thoughts arise, yet they pass without clinging. Emotions come, yet they do not overwhelm. There is no longer a need to grasp, to achieve, to become. Life flows without resistance, not because challenges disappear, but because the one experiencing them no longer sees them as obstacles. Moments of presence can arise unexpectedly, in the midst of daily life. A simple act like washing dishes or walking down a familiar street can suddenly feel different, more vivid, more alive. The weight of the past and the pull of the future fade, leaving only the raw experience of the now. It is a shift from thinking about life to fully living it. Awareness expands, not through effort, but through letting go of the need to control or categorize every moment. A deeper clarity begins to emerge. Problems that once seemed overwhelming lose their intensity, not because they have vanished, but because the one observing them is no longer bound by them. The mind, once a relentless master, becomes a tool used when necessary, but no longer mistaken for the essence of who you are. A sense of spaciousness pervades experience, as if a heavy burden has been lifted without ever having to be carried away. This presence has always been there, like a vast ocean beneath the waves of thought. The problem was never the thinking. It was the attachment to thinking, the belief that it was the center of existence. But awareness is deeper than thought, just as the ocean is deeper than its waves. And when you finally rest in that awareness, there is an undeniable recognition that you were never the waves. You were the ocean all along. The realization of this deeper presence is not the end of awakening. It is the beginning of living it. Awareness is not meant to be an occasional experience. It is a way of being. Every action, every interaction, every moment becomes infused with presence. Life does not change outwardly, but the way it is perceived shifts entirely. With presence, reactivity fades, replaced by conscious response. The weight of the past no longer dictates the present, and future worries lose their grip because the mind no longer projects illusions of control. Relationships transform, not because others change, but because presence replaces expectation. When you interact with another from awareness, you no longer see them through the filters of past impressions. Instead, you meet them as they are in the now. And this alone changes everything. This transformation is not about achieving perfection, but about existing with greater depth and authenticity. The need to constantly define oneself or prove something to the world diminishes. Life moves with a natural rhythm, and experiences are met with openness rather than resistance. This shift allows for greater peace, clarity, and a sense of freedom that is independent of external circumstances. This is what spiritual awakening truly feels like. Not an idea, not an experience to chase, but a direct realization. It is the unshackling of the mind, the recognition of awareness, and the simple yet profound shift from identification with thought to resting in the presence that has always been there. Once seen, it cannot be unseen. Once realized, life is never lived the same way again.